If our children are the seeds and we are their gardeners, how we plant them and the way we tend to them will determine if they reach their full bloom. So we choose to listen to our intuition, focus on connection, and stay deeply rooted in order to make the most of every season in motherhood. We don't have all the answers, and we probably never will. We are learning as they grow. This is our journey, and by sharing our truths, we hope to encourage anyone along the way. Welcome to the Learning as They Grow podcast. Hello, welcome back to Learning as They Grow. I'm your host, Alicia Foster. Today we are doing episode 6 of the podcast, season 1. And this is going to be part 2 from last week's episode. Last week was all about becoming a stay-at-home mom. So if you want to go back and listen to that one, if you haven't already, go back and do so. I shared a little bit of my story, how we did it financially, and then how it works as far as adjusting your lifestyle to become a stay-at-home mom. So go check that one out if you haven't already. So this week, we're going to be talking about the misconceptions of a stay-at-home mom. I feel like this is still part of becoming a stay-at-home mom. There's a lot of things that are just different. And people say stuff sometimes that not knowing or not realizing, I guess, what it's like on the other side of this stay-at-home life. So I wanted to address just a couple of those things that you may hear or you may be thinking if you're on the fence of becoming a stay-at-home mom, or if you're like, I know for sure that that's not for me. Hear me out. Stay tuned and listen to some of the misconceptions you might have. Or if you're a stay-at-home mom already and you're like, yes, I have heard some stuff and I would love to hear what kind of things Alicia has heard as well. I will be sharing that today. So I'm going to get started with that in a bit. Before I do, I'm going to start with my high and my grow of the week. So my high for the week actually just happened tonight. So it has to do with my daughter's sleep. Hallelujah. We finally got some relief, and she did her nap time today and bedtime without a single fuss or crying, which is like been a big deal. If you have been following along with this at all with my episodes, or you're interested, go back and listen to them. But it's been a journey for us. And I just finally had accepted that sleep is just not something my daughter is fond of. And we're just going to deal with it until otherwise. But I think we're finally, maybe I'm gonna knock on wood when I say that, because like I said, it was the first night. But I hope we're finally turning a page and gonna get some sweet sleep here soon. So go check out previous episodes if you're like, what's going on? Like, why has everything been so tough? I promise we've tried pretty much everything when it comes to her sleep over the last 15 months, except for like serious cry it out. We've done the intervals, I guess. And whenever we did that, I didn't even fully do that in the sense of letting her cry for a long time. It was just not something that felt right or settled with us. So anyways, other than that, we've literally done everything. I've tried just being like, I'm just gonna always hold you and rock you and nurse you. And then she started not wanting that anymore. And then she wanted her own space. We enjoyed co-sleeping. And then she was like, this isn't working for me anymore. So we gave her her own space. But then she, just had a hard time with transferring into her crib, or us not being able to come and comfort her in there. So we took off the front face of it and did a toddler bed. And that was good for all of a week. And then she was like, I'm going to throw a fit whenever it's time to go to bed. So we've just been trying to figure it out. But tonight, thank goodness, and today, I actually downloaded an app that I had when she was a baby, and I decided I was just going to give it a try. I got to a point where I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm at a loss. I'm mentally exhausted. I'm physically exhausted. And I just know that this is not the best sleep for her. So I downloaded this app called Huckleberry app. If you haven't heard of it yet, check it out. And they have like a questionnaire that you can fill out, and they're gonna send a sleep plan to help. And I was a little not hesitant, but skeptical whenever they sent the sleep schedule. And I was like, yes, this is pretty much what we're doing. Like, these are the wake windows. But there were a couple of things that were just stretched just a little bit longer. And I know right now with her age, she might be switching between 1 to 2 naps. So there's going to be some changes there for sure when that fully happens. But I went ahead and just followed the sleep schedule to a T. And when she started getting fussy, I looked at the app and it was like 18 more minutes until the sweet spot time to put her down. So I was like, okay, like, let's just calmly get ready, but I'm not going to put her down and leave her until that timer says. And when I put her down, it was like, she was like, all right, bye mom, I've got this. And I watched her on the monitor, and she literally like just went and sat and read some books. And I got some really cute video of that. So I'll post that on my social media platforms if you want to go check it out. But anyways, she did so good. She ended up just laying down afterwards and falling asleep, which is what she did for the first week of toddler bed life. And it was so good. And then she was like, not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to bang on the door and like cry. But this time she decided to go back to trying it on her own. And so that was really awesome. Like, she did it. And then I followed it again. I followed the app again to the T for bedtime, which bedtime was actually like 45 minutes to an hour later than we usually do bedtime. But I was like, I'm just going to follow this schedule. And sure enough, she did not throw a fit at all. We did our regular bedtime routine, bath, nursing, rocking, singing. I laid her down. We read a book. And she loves now, like, she knows she lays her head on her pillow and she wants her blanket. And so I put her blanket on her, give her stuffed animal. And then I tell her, good night, I love you. And I walked out, and I like did not hear a peep. So I'm like, okay, it's only a couple minutes. She'll be banging on the door. She did not cry at all. And I actually watched her on the monitor. She climbed off the bed and just laid on the floor and fell right asleep, which I'm like, why are you sleeping on the floor? But she didn't cry once. So that is a big high for me tonight. That is something that is a long time coming. So I pray and ask you to please pray along with me that this sleep hopefully lasts longer through the night. And as she wakes, I'm able to get her back down peacefully, and that I just can continue to learn through this process. I'll update y'all next week on how that is going. And I hope that when I talk about my daughter's sleep, it's going to be on the high and not the grow, which is sometimes like a harder thing that I'm going through, and I'm just learning through it. So yeah, okay, that's that. And one day my highs and my grows will not be about sleep anymore, guys. There's going to be more stuff going on in my life that is like I'm growing from. But right now, this is what my life is revolving around, because I just know that there's more I need to learn and grow from, because she needs to get some better sleep and mama needs some sleep. I have not slept a full night in 15 months. I've been waking up every 2 to 4 hours. There's been times whenever she co-slept with us that I would get some good sleep and like find myself like drooling on her head. And I was like, wow. And then I'd look and it was like, okay, we slept for like 4 hours. That's awesome. But I haven't slept a full 8 hours, guys, in 15 months. And I don't know if this is just parenthood. This might be just it. Comment below on whatever platform you're on, or send me a message and let me know if you are struggling with this, or if this is just parenthood and I just need to accept that. Okay, so I promised myself I wouldn't do long highs and grows this week, but I can't help it. I just like updating everyone on what's going on. And if anyone's listening, I hope that you care to hear, or just fast forward like 10-15 minutes and then you'll get to the actual episode of what I'm talking about. Okay, my grow of the week has actually been a grow of the last couple months. So I had shared that my family and I have just been kind of in a rough season. The sleep was a big part of it, but also my husband's job had been hard on him, definitely, but it's been hard on me now as well, because he has been having to travel for work, and that is not something that he really signed up for. And so it's just been a hard time. We literally a month and a half ago, he had to go out of town for a week, and we realized that that's the longest we've been away from each other, which I know might sound silly to some people. There's military families and there's men who that's just their job. They just travel for weeks at a time and it's no big deal. But that's not our jam. That is not really what we signed up for, and that's not how we function. It's really hard for both of us, honestly. He really enjoys being with his family and is a homebody, and so it's been hard for him to not be able to see his little girl and to just enjoy time with his family. And then what has been a very big growing part for me is kind of just feeling like a single mom in this time. Not that I am, and I'm sure there's a whole other realm of like struggle I couldn't even understand, because I do have that support from my husband when he is back, and emotionally I have the support from him while he's gone. But he while he's gone for these weeks at a time, I'm just, it's just me 24/7 with her. And fortunately, we live right down the street from both of our parents. So they have also been very helpful. Like I mentioned in the last episode, I tutor just for a fun little, side hobby and some extra money. And so when I go do tutoring gigs, my family or my husband's family is able to watch her. So that's been helpful. And then they're also kind of be like, if you need time for yourself, like, let me know. So that is very great, but it is still, so let's say I get maybe 3 hours out of the whole week with some help. Other than that, it is completely me right now. So it's just been a big adjustment. And I realize like, I probably wouldn't be the best like single mom out there if I was just doing this on my own, because my patience is running thin. I'm doing things that I don't usually do. Like there's certain foods that I usually don't let my child eat. And I'm just like, for convenience, let's eat this. Or turning on the TV when we usually are a screen-free home, and we do on occasion turn on the TV, but there's just certain things that I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is, just where I need to understand that there's times I'm going to do things or other families do things, and it's for their own mental sanity, and just understanding that it is hard sometimes when you're all by yourself. So anyways, yeah, that was just that's been a big growing time for myself and for my husband and I to like have to continue to just know that this is a season. We're going to get through this as a family, and we're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, do you remember when you traveled X amount of times in this short amount of, just a month and a half, and how crazy that was for us and for our family. And like, yeah, anyways. Okay. So that's that. I am going to now jump in to the full episode, misconceptions of being a stay-at-home mom, as I am talking about being a stay-at-home mom, being a 24/7 mom. I wanted to cover some things that people have maybe said to me or that I have heard. And it just is like little things that you kind of just think, that's really what they think of stay-at-home motherhood to be. But I would like to shine a different light on it. And instead of it being like, I'm not upset with anybody for saying anything, but I just think it is a misconception. And I would like to maybe let people see the positive side of what stay-at-home mom life can be, and understanding that stay-at-home mom life has not been something that I was always just thinking I was going to be. And I'm just like, this was my passion in life. I'm going to get into that in a little bit to make it clear that things can be different for different people, but it's still such a beautiful life. So I want to share that. Okay, so I'm going to do this with 5 misconceptions that I've heard, and I'll unload each one of these as we go along. So the first one is somebody saying something like, you're so lucky. I wish I could stay at home, but we just can't afford it. So this is something that I talked a lot about in my last episode. So go check that out if you're interested. And this one. But I just have to say, for me, my initial thought for all of this is like, yes, I definitely am fortunate to get to be home with my little one. But is it luck? That's kind of the term that I'm having struggles with whenever people say, oh, you're lucky. There are people that are more fortunate than others. I do understand that. There are going to be people that it is a true blessing, and some people truly cannot afford it, truly cannot. Like, they are stretched to their complete ends. They're doing paycheck to paycheck, whether that's both partners in a couple, working, or if it is a single parent. Like, I understand you're not going to be able to stay at home with your child and provide for them. So I do understand that there are situations like that. And I do understand that there's the whole other opposite end of this spectrum of people who are, trophy wives or whatever it may be termed as, that they are very, very, very fortunate financially. And it is just something that they're just like, didn't have to think much about, and they're able to continue to live whatever lifestyle they want. But I think that those two ends of the spectrum are the minority. If you look at the numbers of people who are in both lower income and a ridiculously higher income, those numbers are small. And most of the time, you have your middle class people, and that is people that I think, if you were to look at your budget and understand that there's going to be some financial cuts and changes that are going to have to be made if staying at home is something that you want. So these are the people that I'm talking to when it comes to this. That's where we fall in. But it wasn't luck. It was sacrifice, and it was financial cuts. And as I talked about in my last episode, it's having used cars that are not the hottest, coolest thing, but knowing that it's going to get me from point A to B, it's safe, it has AC, and we're good to go. It's living in a smaller house sometimes. It's holding off on some of your things that you want to do because this is more important for you, if that is what you're wanting to do. So whenever people say, I wish I could, but we can't, if you're wishing, I say, find a way, make it happen, make those sacrifices if that's something you want. Okay, so that's the first one, not luck, sacrifices. All right, second one, when people say something like, you must have just always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, or you must have just always not wanted to work. Again, there are some people that is the case, but it's definitely not the case for all. And assuming that is like kind of silly. It's definitely not the case for like 95% of the stay-at-home mom friends that I have. Every stay-at-home mom friend that I talk to pretty much is like, they've had a great career in the past, they have a degree, and they have people say stuff like, don't you feel like you're wasting your degree? Or are you going to go back when they go back to school? Like, what are you going to do with that? Prior to parenthood, we had a lot of other aspirations, but understanding that now that we've become mothers, we just feel that staying at home and raising our children is more important right now. This is a temporary thing. And for some of us, we're able to continue to pursue those passions. So like I said, I was a teacher, and now I'm able to tutor on the side and do that as something that brings me joy. And so other people are able to do that too. It doesn't mean that they just wanted to not work. And for some people, being a stay-at-home mom was not always their goal. Like I said, myself and my friends included, that I am thinking of off the top of my head, they were like, no, I didn't know this life would be for me. And I'm still so blessed that God told me this is the life that I have planned for you. And I chose to follow his path. And so, yeah, just understanding it's not a, oh, that's those kind of people, they've always wanted to stay at home. A lot of us are very much like working moms who have aspirations and passions for other things. And just now at this stage in our life, we have changed our mind with things and realized certain things for us feel more important than going to work at this time in our life. So there's that. All right, number 3. This one's a big one, and I know that people have gotten better at this term, but when someone says something like, I need to do something more than being just a mom 24/7. I know people have gotten better at the whole just a mom term, so that's good. I pretty much everyone I talk to has been so kind, and they're like, "Oh, motherhood is the hardest job, or parenthood is the hardest job. It's the most important job. Like, you're not just a mom, you're doing so great." So I shouldn't have to explain that part. That part's pretty obvious. But I think that we need to talk a little bit about the whole, I need to do something more than being just home or just a mom, whatever it is. I think everyone needs more than just one identity. Working moms need to be more than just an accountant or just a nurse or just a teacher or whatever it is that they may be. Stay-at-home moms too are more than just a mom. We also have other identities. And I think it's important to understand that both working moms and stay-at-home moms need to make sure to take time to invest in those other identities too. Sometimes it is hard. I know as a teacher, I'm even thinking of the identity of a teacher before I was a mother, and oh my gosh, that identity consumed me. I was working 60 hours a week, and I mean, the anxiety of my job was just overwhelming to where I couldn't relax even at nighttime. I mean, I could, like, physically, but my mind was racing all the time, just thinking about what was next and what I needed to plan and what I was behind on. So my teacher identity did consume me for 9 months out of the year. And then summer, it was like freedom, unload, and then you start stressing as the next school year rolls around. So that was one identity as a working mom that I think people can struggle with. And that's just being a teacher. I know many people who can relate to that in all different career fields. So I think it's important for working moms and stay-at-home moms to understand you have so many other identities that you can invest time into as well. Whether that's being a wife, a friend, like I want to spend time with my friends as well, and make sure that I'm making time for that, making time for your husband, and being like, I'm happy to be a wife. I'm a daughter of the Lord. I need to make sure that I make time for my quiet time and my Bible study and my prayer. I'm a podcaster. This is something that I'm making time for. This is now a new identity for me that I'm enjoying. It's a little something that is my own. Some people might have stuff that they're a crafter, they're a reader, or a gardener, a designer, whatever it may be, whatever your identity is that makes you, invest time in that, because you're not just a mom and you're not just a worker. So I think everyone needs to understand that no matter the title, you're all going to be doing something more than being just a mom, but we also have to put in that effort to make sure that we do take time for those identities. So that's kind of how I was thinking of that one. Okay, here's the other misconception. This one, okay, I'll just say it. So people saying stuff like, I don't know how you do it. I could never be at home with my kids all day. Okay, so 2 parts to this. One, I think that people don't understand how kind of passive aggressive this is. Like you're just home with your kids all day. Oh my God, like you're kind of a crazy person. But let's think about it in the way of if the shoe was on the other foot. What if you overheard someone saying this to a working mom, or if you're a working mom and somebody said this to you? Oh my gosh, Lord bless you. I hope nobody was to say this to you, but imagine if somebody said it, roles reversed, and they said, I don't know how you do it all day. I could never be away from my kids all day. What if I, as a stay-at-home mom, said that to a working mom, and the working mom may be thinking on the inside, like, how rude. This person doesn't know how much I miss my kids sometimes through the day when I'm gone. And they don't understand that this is a choice that I'm making that is best for my family right now. So it makes sense, and it does seem rude, and it does seem passive aggressive whenever you're hearing it from a working mom's point of view. So understand now from a stay-at-home mom's point of view. I immediately am like, I'm happy to be home with my kids all day, but they don't know how much I sometimes miss me time too. Like, I'm not just a crazy person that just loves being with kids all day long. I do enjoy working with kids and being with my child. She's amazing. But there is hard times too. And if somebody says that at the wrong time, it might make you feel really frustrated and just be like, how rude of them to say that. So thinking also that this is the best choice for my family right now. So understanding that that stay-at-home mom that somebody might say that to may feel that same way, that that's kind of rude to say that to them. In addition to this maybe being perceived as rude, I think there's something more here to be said about the person that's actually saying this comment, rather than the person that it's being said to. So I now, as I think of it, I have to ask, if somebody said I could never be at home with my kids all day, I think I'm going to start coming back and asking, why is that? And just seeing what they say, because I'm really, truly curious. I'm wondering, why is it that you couldn't be home with your children all day? Is it because they're just exhausting and they're annoying sometimes? Yeah, kids can be very annoying sometimes. I get it. Exhausting. Yeah. Listen to the beginning of this episode if you think I don't know about exhaustion with children. But are they just like such a bad kid and they just don't listen? Like they don't listen to me. I wouldn't want to be home with them all day. So whatever your answer is, if you're somebody that says I can never be home with my kids all day, and I'm gonna be the devil's advocate and say, why is that? Think about it. I think it's kind of scary to think about that, because if it is that your kid's behavior is just so out of control that you have no interest being around them, that's something that I think should maybe be addressed and worked on. And who better than to do that with them than the people who love them the most unconditionally, who are going to be able to let those annoying things here and there roll off their back and say, you know what, it's my job to teach them how to do better. Because let's be honest, annoying kids turn into annoying adults if those things do not get addressed. If you have a kid who's always like interrupting and is never taught that's not how we do that, or they're only taught that on the weekends when they're home with you, or you're exhausted after work and you don't have time to really address this, or whatever it may be, that kid, if it's never addressed, is going to be an adult that always interrupts. And that's just one example. If your kid is just so bad and just doesn't listen to you and they're aggressive or whatever it may be, as I said, I was a teacher. I've worked with a lot of different behaviors of children. And a lot of times, those kiddos that are having certain things that you just think you don't want to be around are the ones that are needing the love the most. And they're the ones that just want you to hear them and understand them and talk with them and care to help them become better. A lot of these little people are they have such big emotions and they don't know how to handle those. And so I think that that's our number one job as their parents. I don't know when it became the teacher's job or the TV's job or YouTube's job to teach our children, but that is what has happened in society. And that to me is sad. That's not the life that I would like to live for my children. It is a huge sacrifice to be the main one to teach them. And do not get me wrong, I'm sure people are annoyed with what I'm saying about that right now. I do think that community and it takes a village is huge. Like, I could not be raising my daughter the way I am without my village, without my people to lean on, without my husband, without our parents. Like, I'd be struggling for sure. But I definitely think that it is our job to be their number one teachers. I think that that needs to be something that parents need to kind of pick back up as their responsibility and stop putting it on other people. And just going back to the whole, like, I could never be with my kids all day. That comment makes me sad, because that's supposed to be your little tiny person that you are just so in love with that you created. And don't get me wrong, my little tiny person drives me nuts about 15 times a day, and she's only 15 months. But I am so blessed that I do get to be home with her all day because we are growing together, we are learning, and I'm able to be the one to foster that time with her. So that's my spiel. Hope I didn't ruffle too many feathers. If I did, like I say, every episode, reach out to me. I'm not here to upset people and just say, this is what I believe and you need to follow it. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to hear other people's opinions. And sometimes I might be I might hear something and go, I hear that that works for you, that doesn't work for us. And somebody might say that back to me, and that's totally fine. But I love discourse. I want to be able to talk and learn through people rather than the way that society has become, where it's like, you have an opposite opinion of me, you are my enemy. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think if somebody has an opposite opinion of you, it's like, let's talk. I'm more interested now to talk with you than somebody who is my twin and just agrees with everything of me. So that's my spiel. Reach out if I just pissed you off. Sorry, not sorry. All right. Last one, number 5, misconception of being a stay-at-home mom. Something somebody says, and I've heard this one a couple times. Somebody saying, don't you get bored? I feel like I would just be bored all day. Or I had somebody say, like, I feel like, what do you do all day? Like, I feel like we would just be like, I'd be watching boring kid shows all day and I'd be on my phone. And I'm like, you might, if that's what you want to spend your day doing. But just like anything, I think that you have to be intentional. You have to make it what you want it to be. So I will disclaim this part right now for any new moms listening. That beginning newborn stage can definitely be boring because all you can do is hold baby. And I mean, I kind of loved just being able to stare at her, but yeah, 3 months of that, or however long it may be, 12 weeks or whatever it may be, of that, and just sitting and like not being able to go places and kind of being tied down to a feeding schedule and all of that, that is exhausting. And there's a huge learning curve with that in the beginning, but that is so temporary compared to the beauty of what being a stay-at-home mom can be. So if you're in that stage, if you're a new mom and you're like, I am bored, like this is not for me. If you're like, I thought being a stay-at-home mom could be for me, muster through it because it's going to get better. I remember whenever you just start seeing a little bit of your baby's personality here and there. And I made sure to be intentional with trying to foster that time as much as possible whenever I'd see her trying to explore, trying to, show me a little bit of who she was. I wanted to be as present as possible. So putting down my phone during those times, because honestly, being on my phone can feel like an escape at times, but that does get boring too. Sitting and watching TV, that gets boring after a while. So being present, putting your stuff aside and really just watching your person grow and cultivating those moments whenever they are needing your assistance to teach them and whatever it may be, like be present in those moments. But if you're, like I said, if you're in that beginning stage and you're like, this is so boring, this is not for me, understand that this is going to pass. Give yourself some grace and you will get on the other side of it soon. Okay. Once you get into your groove as a stay-at-home mom, there's so many possibilities of what your day could look like. It can be different for anybody, depending on what your interests are, what you choose for it to be like. For us, we are on the go people when it comes to our day to day. Like at night, it's like, yes, let's be home, we're homebodies. But during the day, we like to be out, we like to be in nature, we like to go places. And I think people sometimes think that that always means spending money, and that's definitely not the case. We find a lot of free things. We go to play dates. For her birthday, I shared this in a previous episode, we asked for experiences. So I did get some money and some gift vouchers for different play places. So we use those to go to fun places. But I go to the zoo on Free Tuesday. That's once a month. I go to the park. I go to the splash pad. I meet with moms, new moms, people that I didn't really know or I'm starting to know now. and we're just always on the move. So that is what our groove feels like. We do some stuff around the house, we enjoy our mornings, but we get out and we do stuff. And I purposely schedule stuff throughout the week so that I don't get bored. So that's our time. But I think it's, whatever you can make it. So something that I am so thankful for is that I do have the flexibility to not dedicate 40 hours a week to my job. I do a couple hours with stuff that I like on the side, but there's so much flexibility with that availability. But if you feel like you're somebody who the flexibility of being available all of the day for your having time with your child is too much, split it up. Find something that you're passionate about. Get a sitter, put them in a Mother's Day Out program for a little bit if that's something you want. Reach out to family, whatever it may be. Find the schedule that works for you. That's the beauty of being a stay-at-home mom. You don't have to be bored. If you want to be a part-time working mom, a full-time, and you're able to be home with them, whatever it may be. Just, I think the point of all of this is just be intentional about your day. I think that's a good lesson for anybody in life, whether you're a working parent or a stay-at-home parent. We have to be intentional about our days, because if you're a working parent and you're just working for the weekend, trust me, I know the feeling. You're like, just, is it Friday yet? Is it Friday yet? So if you're just working for the weekend and then the weekend gets here and it's like, I'm exhausted, it's gone by so fast, we barely got to do anything. And then you start the next week again and you live that on repeat for your whole life, you lose a lot of time. And suddenly you wake up and your baby is 18 years old and you wonder where the time went. So be intentional with your time off. If you are a working parent, when you get home after work, be intentional about that time with them. The weekends, be intentional. If you're a stay-at-home mom, it's the same thing. You just have more time, but you have to be intentional with it in order for it to be worthwhile, in order for it to feel meaningful and good. Do not get me wrong. There are days when I'm like, we just need a chill day. We need nothing on the calendar. I do need to just relax and sit out back in my hammock while my little one roams around outside, as she loves to do, chasing our chickens or playing with the dogs, whatever it may be. But majority of days, I'm intentional. And those chill days are intentional as well. They're a day of rest, which is what we need. So anyways, having intentionality can help you from feeling that boring feeling that I think a lot of people associate with being a stay-at-home mom. They think you're going to get bored. But if you do start feeling like that bogging down of boredom, it can turn into feeling very isolating and very depressing. So that's something to look out for. If you are a stay-at-home mom and you're feeling these things, or you're afraid you might feel like this if you become a stay-at-home mom, I'm here to tell you, you're not alone. There's a lot of parents who are either struggling with that, and so they end up just saying, I just had to go back to work, or they are in it right now and they're still struggling. You're not alone. Reach out. You can reach out to me if you need to know who else to reach out to. There's groups, there's other people out there. There's definitely moms and stay-at-home moms in your community. No matter where you are around the globe, there are moms who are going through it. So find your village, find your people, find what you want your day to look like, because you can make it. That's the beauty of being a stay-at-home mom. Okay, that is it. I am done with my spiel of misconceptions of being a stay-at-home mom. I hope that that encouraged anybody out there just to either have a different viewpoint if you had a negative viewpoint of a stay-at-home mom, or if you're on the fence of wanting to become a stay-at-home mom, come on over to this side. It's pretty great. Or if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're just like, yes, I've heard this, I know this. I hope that I reached out to everyone who needed to hear it today. And I just pray that you all have a blessed week, and I will talk to y'all next week. Bye.